Hi, everybody. Welcome to Financial Self-Defense with Crystal Johnson. Trying a little different format tonight. We're going to dive into something that is kind of one of those subjects that lots of people don't want to talk about. It's how a lot of retirees feel on what they wish they had done differently and how you can avoid that, whether you're like me in your mid-40s or in earlier years or getting close. Doesn't matter. I'm using data from 2025, 2024, 2025, and I'll share the top things that are reported as the biggest regrets that retirees have. So, and most importantly, what you can do to avoid them. So, if you like this, please click, subscribe, tell your friends. I'll be putting lots of different topics on here, and we'll be expanding upon lots more. Lots of life planning and financial lessons and pretty much everything. So why this matters, when we think of retirement, a lot of times we picture relaxing or traveling or time with family. It's individual for everybody. But for many, it becomes a time to reflect. Okay, and sometimes it's flat out regret. The recent data shows that 76% of retirees say they wish they'd saved more during their retirement, especially as, or more consistently, especially as the cost of living keeps going up. 68% say they wish they'd been more knowledgeable in investment and retirement planning. This is again where I'm trying to help people out. So it's one of my favorite topics to teach about is on the investing side of things and coming up with strategies to avoid taxes in retirement. A lot of people don't think about how much tax they're going to pay. Okay, nearly 50%, 50%, 68, 76, just makes me sad. But nearly 50% say they waited too long to become savings. I find that all the time. People are either focused on get out of debt or save for retirement. And part of my job is teaching people kind of to widen their view and look at it holistically and how we can do both. About 2 in 5 retirees report having significant regrets. That's, I think, a little bit low from what I'm seeing from people. Many regret not knowing how to optimize the government benefits, saving on tax, how that all fits together, because it can, as you may have heard me say, be like a completely different language or financialese. For those of you that don't know, I'm a big karate girl too, so that's where the name came from and the financialese. So the top regrets and how to avoid them. First one is what we're helping with here, not educating themselves and relying too heavily on others. This shows up over and over again when couples split or their trust was maybe abused by someone in the financial industry. Unfortunately, they are there. And even worse, some employers have a vested interest, especially if you have a pension, in keeping the money in their pension instead of under your control. So I have an entire series planned for pensions and how to understand the stuff they may put on page 28, 29 of the little booklet. So just keep that in mind when you go to pension educations with your work. Again, not talking about savings or starting too late, not saving enough, not knowing how much to even save. One of the things that I do that some advisors do, but lots of people don't, is they don't work backwards from where you want to be in your retirement. Like I said, it can be individual and it can change too. You might have one plan and then change. So working backwards to figure out what you have to do now to get where you want to be in retirement, that's a key component to the holistic type of help I like to teach about. And again, reviewing regularly. The plan you have today might change drastically by the time you actually get to retirement, depending on how close that is. And don't give up either, because even though you're close to retirement, if that's you, there are lots of things that can be done to help. So I call this my comfy couch. It's where I teach some of the online side of things. So it's a get comfy, be comfy, and learn for yourself so that you can get where you want to be. Retiring too early is often a regret, or claiming benefits too early or too late. It's a very, very individual decision on when you want to start claiming some of the government benefits. Okay, and there's pros and cons to each. And I'm never gonna throw out a generic, you should do this, you should do that, because it has to be evaluated independently for your situation and what you're looking for. Not planning for healthcare costs and other expenses that can show up, like medications. In Canada, there's all sorts of rules on how long they'll pay for prescriptions and stuff, how much and which types and stuff like that. And I know different areas of the world, the US and other ones, are also similar, and they can change. What you thought you had can change, especially if you're be employed and in the employment side right now. What you have for benefits can be completely modified with very little work from your employer if they want to take away those benefits. So first of all, knowing what they are, not just shoving the little booklet in the drawer, but knowing what they are, comparing what the value is, seeing if they're enough is really important. And I'm not here to sell. This channel is all about education, but I do have access because I'm licensed in Canada, just about half of the country right now, and working on coverage everywhere, and some products I can do everywhere. So in Canada, and looking at getting into the States too, if you know people down there. So like I said, building a buffer in and considering over planning for some of those expenses. That's a big thing I like to teach in the budgeting classes, is over plan on the expenses and under plan on how much you're going to have for income, because then it'll usually work out in your favor. Sometimes being overly cautious early in retirement, worried about running out of money too soon, can really affect people. Okay, that's again where it comes in to be a custom situation. I like to plan in phases. So phase 1 might be the first 5 years of your retirement, where you want to tour around and see all the grandparents and see places you've never seen, or who knows, whatever the case may be. So there are all sorts of different strategies. Some where you take the money out early, some where you or take your savings out early so you can do those things. Some where you might have already some health troubles, so you're planning ahead for those extra costs. It's really, really key to get a true sense of where you are and what you need for your future. Neglecting health, relationships, and purpose. This one is a little less on the financial side, but it really does tie in, because a lot of times people get to retirement and you hear about them. They've worked their whole life and they finally get to retirement and they just don't know what to do with themselves because their work has been so much of their life. So making sure that you find a purpose. Mine happens to be teaching people about financial education, especially if you know me, about helping people with disabilities and excuse me there. But finding purpose and setting some goals for retirement that aren't just money or travel or whatever, but something that'll keep you motivated to keep active and having fun in your retirement, because that's what it should be. And retirement also, I should say, is not necessarily an age. For a lot of people, retirement is value, how much they have saved up and whether or not they have got what they need to retire. So don't necessarily set it as an age in your mind. It can be when I've saved up this amount, knowing what I want for a lifestyle. That is true retirement. Okay. And part 3, regret having a plan that takes care of prevention. Okay. So basically one of the tips is do a regret audit. If you are retiring today, what would you miss most? What would you hate the most? Okay, so then you can start making adjustments. run what-if scenarios. Try different retirement ages, spending rates. Like I said, try maybe the first 5 years you want to take a little bit more out, take a little bit less out later, keeping in mind more expenses depending on healthcare, stuff like that. Automate and review. This one I could say over and over and over and over again. You really want to have your savings automated so that you don't even have to think about it. Dollar cost averaging, if you don't know what that is, I'll be explaining that in another video. But make it automatic that you're saving towards your future, no matter what age you are. Okay, you will not miss, I promise, you will not miss whatever amount that is per month once you've adjusted to it. Humans have a tendency of basically living to what's in their bank account. So if you wait till what's left and only save what's left in your account, often that's not what you need. So, and again, reviewing. For myself, I was a client for 15 years before I ever got into the financial services. I did work the corporate world. I did have a pension. And every couple years, and I did have a plan, and every couple years, the plan would go sideways. The car that was supposed to last 5 years wouldn't, or whatever. Life happens. So reviewing the plan and making sure you go over it with somebody that you trust and a licensed professional will make a huge difference. Okay? Build in some flexibility. Like I said on the estimating high on expenses and low on what's coming in, anyone who tells you to budget down to the penny, they're just off. Okay, because if it's like a diet, if you budget down to the penny, then one of the days you're going to get frustrated and you're going to go out and splurge. Okay, it's just human nature. We can't stick to it forever and ever if it's unreasonable. So build in some fun money. Okay, build in some fun into things. And if you want strategies on how to do that, again, I love to help. If I don't know something, I am also not afraid to tell you, and we'll bring in other experts as well. Invest in yourself. You're already doing that by putting up with me for this little video. I'm not sure how long we are yet, but it's a little longer than my usual ones. And you're learning, you're stepping up and taking control of your own life, health, finances, all of those things. And health and finances are really tied together. So much stress for people and for marriages and for families is tied to finances. Over and over and over again, I see it. And the experts, you can pull up tons of articles from anywhere you like to see how things are affecting people. Getting help, again, this one I've mentioned a few times. Make sure you're working with someone who's licensed, who you're comfortable with, who isn't afraid to say if they don't know something, but will definitely get you the answer. Okay, because you can't expect someone to know everything about everything. There is a difference between accountants and investment professionals, for example. A lot of people go to one or the other, and we each have our own specialties. Okay, and you should really have at least one person in your corner who looks at the big picture. If the example I always use is if someone gets a $200 a month raise and you have an investment person and an insurance person and a debt person, well, the debt person should be telling you to maybe put it towards debt, okay, but the insurance person might be telling you, well, you need more insurance because you're worth more, and the investment person will be saying you should put all that $200 towards your savings. And that is where we run into, that's where I come in a lot of cases and say, okay, yes, they all have there's all these valid things we need to do, but maybe it needs to be like $100 here, $50 here, $50 there, and spread it out holistically and spread it around to what you need to be covered and to have your family covered, to meet your goals, because that is the biggest thing. One of my mentors says all the time that finances are 95% values and 5% math. And luckily, we have a computer or a calculator in our pocket most of the time to do the math side of things. And if you don't, I have some pretty fancy ones I can tap into too. So get help. Make sure the help that you get you are 100% comfortable with. and really realize that we are not here to judge you. You should never feel judged by an advisor. One of the things I like to say is whenever I meet with somebody, you're interviewing me to see if you want to hire me to help you. If somebody makes you feel like you have to beg for them to help you or anything like that, that's a huge red flag. To me, anyway. I think it is. And I keep hearing it from people, so I might be right. So these are some of the most common regrets that people at retirement have. I hope you're not in that situation, but it also doesn't mean that you're stuck. Okay, a lot of people, when they get to retirement, they're like, oh, I guess there's nothing else I can do. I kind of maybe should have done something different. But there are many things you can do. There are products that can bypass probate, which will get more to your family rather than to the tax man. Okay, if you're running a business, there's all sorts of strategies you can do to take advantage. In Canada, frankly, the tax laws are set up for the business people. So there's lots and lots of things you can do completely above board, of course, but lots of things to learn, and I would be honored to help you learn them, whether it's on the channel or in person. So if you found this helpful, share the channel, share my other social media links. I'm just getting into the digital world. I've been sticking to my personal clients, but I feel the need to expand and help. My kids are grown out of the house and I have time and want to help more people. It's just something I've always felt drawn to. So, and also drop in the comments what your biggest regret is, whether or not you're in retirement. Do you relate to any of these? Do you know anyone who does? Do you think I'm completely crazy? Just let me know, because I'm keen for feedback and any help on what you would like to see more of in the videos or in help in any way. So thank you for watching, and here's to a retirement with way fewer regrets for people, and most importantly, peace of mind that you're going to be okay. I know it's scary out there right now, and part of my goal or role is to help people take a deep breath and feel like there's hope, because I know it can be pretty, I don't want to say hopeless, but it's pretty frightening what's happening around the world right now. So if I can help in any little way, that's what I want to do. So there you go. That's Crystal. That's what I teach in financial self-defense, and I hope I see more of you. Thank you. Bye-bye.